This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Landmark College, the college for students who learn differently, offering comprehensive supports for students with ADHD and other learning differences, both on campus and online. Learn more at lcdistraction.org.
We all face disappointment and we all face failure, right? Yeah. But it's how we respond to it, really. And I know that it sounds cliche, but it's really true.
It is true.
And I even asked my son that one time that we had something that happened in our neighborhood, and I asked him, I said, and it was hurtful from, parents, because anybody that's got kids with ADHD, sometimes your kid's not welcome, or, it's just a journey. It's really, and you hurt, when your kid hurts, you hurt, right? You hurt for them. And so we weren't invited to something, and I asked my son, I said, so let's just change the tide here. I said, if I were in that situation and it was us that were doing it, what would I have done? And he said, you would have just invited them and made it good. And I thought, there you go. I mean, I thought, what, if I don't do anything right at all in my lifetime, that one I did.
Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Today we have a very interesting guest, truly, and I just am looking down her list of activities. I don't know when she catches her breath, but she runs all kinds of businesses, and she has ADHD, but it wasn't diagnosed until her mid-40s, and from her photograph, she looks like she's in her late 40s, so she probably was only diagnosed a few years ago. In any case, she is the co-founder, along with her husband and son, of Refocus the Creative Office. They make products to help people with ADHD, which really is saying they make products to help everybody deal with modern life, because in modern life, everyone feels as if they have ADHD, whether they have it or not. I've met her on the airwaves, as I've been on her podcast, and she's a remarkably intelligent, quick, kind, funny, spontaneous entrepreneur. Her son, Drake, is a college student studying engineering. He also has ADHD and created their first suite of products, Password Books. They now have 9 versions, including mini versions and a left-handed version. They also have over 26 SKUs on Amazon and 11 products in development, and God knows how many in Angela's unconscious mind. Her podcast is called Refocus with Angela Stevens, and that's Stevens with a PH, Stephenens. She's also founder and president of an executive search firm in the pharmaceutical and biofood and nutrition industries. She also owns a film production business called DDA West Coast Productions. I don't know what DDA stands for, but it must be interesting. She was also on the board of CASA, the National Court-Appointed Special Advocate Association, for over 12 years, and was its president and vice president, I assume not at the same time. She is a remarkable woman, truly, and not one of those remarkable people who throws it in your face. She is doing it to help other people and have a lot of fun in the process. Angela, welcome to Distraction.
Wow, I was going to say I'm exhausted just by listening to all of that. But you know what? Let me answer that first question. You said, what does DDA stand for? And what that stands for is Drake, Daryl, and Angela. So it's our names.
Your name.
Because our corporate name for Refocus is DDA Direct Group, and it's everything that we do, again, through an ADHD child's eyes, and so that's kind of how that all developed, actually.
So what was that first business?
Well, the first business is the executive search firm. I started it, I think back in 87 or 86 maybe, with $3,000. I would never recommend someone do that, but I did.
So here you are in your early 20s starting a business.
Well, it's interesting. I went to college to work in communications. My degree's in communications and my minor is in theater. And I always thought that I would be working in media and broadcast. That was kind of, or acting. That was my direction. And the first 3 jobs out of college, and this is back, in like the late 80s, early 90s, so it wasn't a good time at that time in the economy. And so I got laid off for the first 3 jobs, and I went, to heck with this. I want to make money and be successful. So I answered an ad to work for an executive search firm, And I learned a lot, but the couple did not have enough money to continue the business. And so I'll never forget it. My dad said, why don't you start your own? And they always had their own businesses. And I thought, no. And then I thought, you know what? Why not? And so I did.
Wow. So you got that business going, and you got married around in there, or? Yeah.
So I was recruited away to go to Korn Ferry, who's a world leader in the retained industry. And I worked for them for 6 years. I left my company for a little bit. And then, at the end of the day, I realized our method was awesome, and we had a great strategy, and our methodology was different. And I learned a lot at Korn Ferry, but I wanted to go back to our core sense. I mean, it just came from just working and getting to know people and interviewing them. And so basically, I left, I came back to Korn Ferry, and I never looked back. And I remember getting married at that time.
What's Korn Ferry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Korn Ferry, it's the largest retained search firm in the world. They do global searches, and I was the top team member in doing searches.
And you got married during that time?
I did. And that's right about when I left Korn Ferry. And my husband was like, okay, wait, so you won't have a paycheck? Like, how's that going to work? And I just told him, I said, look, you got to trust me. And he did. And it worked out. But it's kind of funny because when my husband now met my son, he was 9 years old and my husband was 45.
So you got married, then why'd you get divorced?
Well, let's just say that my ex-husband, we get along great, and he's a great dad and a not-so-good husband.
Okay. So it was a mutual decision, and you parted amicably.
No, it was very sad. It was very sad. It was very traumatic, and it was terrible, actually. But, I got a lot of counseling, and you go through forgiveness at those times.
So you had to forgive him?
Of course. It was a heartbreaking event. I had the life of a white picket fence, and a little child. And, at the end of the day, we as women, we want the white picket fence. We want that story. And no matter what happened, we want our family together.
Right.
It was really heartbreaking. And it was so heartbreaking that it led me to find CASA, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates, because I found out at the time that my ex-husband had been abused when he was younger. So I helped to get the help for him, but he got better, but not for us. And what's interesting is not to depart from this conversation, but that's where we created the documentary Chapters of Hope and Healing, which is about, healing and forgiving. And in this world, it's all about forgiveness and helping people.
What's the name of your documentary?
It's called Chapters of Hope and Healing. And you can find it at chaptersofhopeandhealing.com. We have 13 episodes in pre-production. But what it is, it covers the life of 4 women, one young, one old, and 2 of them are widowed, and 2 of them have been divorced. And it's interesting. We think we know what goes on in their lives, but we really don't. And it's a picture of what goes on in their lifetime. And there was 4 characteristics that I did with that documentary. It was, number 1, what did you go through? How did it impact you? What did you learn? And what advice would you give to the next person? It was remarkable. And the reason that we have not continued is because hopefully, we're trying right now, hopefully we would like to get an A-lister on each topic and then have, just people, regular, people like myself, everybody, not you, but everybody else, and an A-lister. That's not easy to find, but as one of my producers always says, Angela, you just kick indoors. So, because I got him a worldwide feature deal, so I guess that's a compliment.
Yeah, that sure, absolutely it is. And then you discovered your ADHD. How did you discover that?
When I discovered ADHD, my son, he was wanting to work for me for the search business, and so he wanted to do the advertising. So, the cups, chargers, hats, things like that. And he did a great job. And then about when he was 16, I said, look, I really want to create something that my clients don't have that they will use. I really didn't realize what I was putting on a 16-year-old at that time, but we worked together, and I'll never forget it because we were driving in my car, and I kept forgetting my password, and I would pull over because I didn't want to text and drive. I'd pull over, and I'd have to reset it, and then I'd get back to my house, and I would forget it again, and I thought, oh, my goodness, I'm going through dementia, or I'm going through early Alzheimer's, and I truly felt that. I was always losing my phone. I couldn't focus, and I just... it was really, really frightening because my grandmother had Alzheimer's and my father had Parkinson's. And so I just, I was just a little concerned. But I went to my doctor and I said, listen, I truly think I'm going through early Alzheimer's or dementia or something. And it was funny. She gave me a checkup and she said, Angela, look, she said, you have a high-functioning ADHD child. You have several businesses. You go all the time. You're fine. You're just busy.
The following is an unpaid endorsement for BetterHelp.
So my name is George, and I've been a BetterHelp user for about 2 years. I actually started using it during the pandemic because I thought it would be a great way, while everything moved virtual, to be able to connect with a therapist during that time. And it ended up being one of the best decisions that I've ever made for myself. I absolutely adore my therapist. I have never been paired with somebody in my life, as somebody who's been through multiple therapists, who really, really gets it and understands the way my current therapist does with BetterHelp. And I really feel like I leave every session that I have with her with something actionable to do, something that can overall improve myself, my health, my well-being. And we have constant check-ins. We talk very, very regularly throughout the week and in our sessions. And I feel thrilled with the progress I'm making so far. I can't recommend it enough. I tell everybody all the time to sign up for BetterHelp because I've had such a positive experience.
Distraction Podcast listeners will save 10% right now by going to our sponsor, BetterHelp, at www.betterhelp.com/distraction. That's www.betterhelp.com/distraction.
So she didn't tell you had ADHD?
No, well, at that point.
So you see, once again, you see the ignorance of the primary care doctor. You obviously had ADHD, but she didn't recognize it.
Exactly. And so, and then it got worse. And I was like, I can't, I was forgetting appointments. And I am one of these people that I'm on it. I get up and I'm on fire. And so I went back to her and I said, listen, I'm really concerned. And then she goes, well, let's get you tested for ADHD. And so that's when I did. And then, we tried medication, we tried other things. And so at that point, it was a real eye opener for me. As you and I talked about, AttitudeMag.com, I signed up for that. I would watch those webinars, listen to the podcast. And then I started helping my son better.
I'm sorry to stop you there, Angela, because I want to hear medication did not work. Attitude Magazine was helpful. Insight was helpful. Anything else?
I think it was just a combination of things. And so, yeah, medication does help. Oh,
it did help. I thought you said it didn't help.
Well, a little, not completely. Like I said, I think it's a combination. One of the best things I ever did was to hire an ADHD coach for business owners. Yes. And I got to tell you, as women, and I think this comes from being a single mom for so many years, we put ourselves last, and we don't put ourselves first. And so,
I'd like to interrupt you again. How did you find your coach?
I Googled them and I looked for reviews of people who had good experiences. And I wanted to find someone that I could do it over video. I didn't want to go to somebody. I really wanted it in the privacy of my home. And it was interesting because at first I was skeptical. And because you people aren't cheap, I'm joking, but so I was. I'm
not a you people. I'm not a coach.
I know.
I'm a psychiatrist. We're even more expensive. So that.
There you go. But worth every penny, right?
Well, it depends upon who you ask. But in any case, you found a good coach.
I did.
Okay, and are you still working with her?
As a man, I am. His name is Robert Powell, and he is in Canada. And the thing I loved about working with Robert is he made me realize, hey, Angela, for so many years, you've been the dishwasher, the cook, doing the accounting, doing everything. You've got to transition yourself now to be the CEO and hire people to do these things. And, again, I think it really comes from being that single mom. You watch every penny. You're scared you're going to lose it, and you've got a child to support. But it was the best money I ever spent because he changed that vision and that expectation of my mindset. And so, I would say anybody, whether you're a business owner or just an executive, to really reach out and find somebody because it's life-changing.
Oh, yeah, coach can make a big difference. Now, you mentioned your son had the idea of a password remembering device. He followed through with that, didn't he?
He did, and he's 19 now. When he was 16, we had it developed, and it was black, and they were all the same color. So that was strike number one right there, that we shouldn't have done that. But we gave them out to friends and family just as a test. And people were saying, can I buy 5 of these? Can I buy 10? Can I buy 20 of these?
Now, what is it? What does it look like?
It looks like a book, but the cover, you can't bend it, you can't tear it, you can't break it. It slides into your bag very easily. It's spiral bound. It has tabs, and it's got heavyweight paper. And I'm really big about great paper. I'm not sure about you, but when I'm flipping through my calendar or a book, I'm strong with it. So I wanted it to be really great paper, and that's something we have not budged on, which has been difficult because of cost.
Okay, so you have this spiral notebook, and you enter passwords into it?
Correct. It'll have a place for your username, your password, the company name, maybe the person's name, and it has an area to put security questions.
But it's not electronic?
No, and there's a reason for that. There's a place for that, but many people don't want to do the electronic thing. We actually pitched it, my son and I, to the CEO of Staples, who is no longer there right now, and her comment was, everything's going to be more digital. And so, it was a little frustrating, a little disappointing, and I said to my son, so in business, here's where you take an idea and you do the market research, and if you believe in it, you continue.
Uh-huh.
And sure enough, come 4 or 5 years later, how many times has Marriott been hacked, or the government been hacked, or this company per se, or your bank? And people now want more control. They want their own password book, and they want to put it in their own safe. And the biggest thing too about those is that attorneys will say, do you know your parents' passwords? Because if something happens to your parents and you don't know their passwords, you're going to be in a world of hurt in terms of if something ever happens.
I'm just looking at this on Amazon. Password book with alphabetical tabs. And I see one with a blue splash on it, one with a red splash. You said you have 9 different colors?
We do. Then we have the miniature version, and so it's smaller. It's a little bit like 5 by 7, and that was in red. And I got to tell you, we cannot keep those in stock. And so we have ordered more, and there's still some available. And
you don't think most people save their passwords digitally?
No, I think many people do, but I think many people don't, and because it's shown in our research.
I just bought one.
You did? I would have said you would. I would have said
No, I just bought it. You made a sale here, so.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, listen. Anyway, I don't know if you're left-handed, but we also have a left-handed version.
I am left-handed.
Well, we had a launch party, and I asked everyone. I said, so if there's anything that's missing, what's missing? And 2 people in the back, they were men, they were left-handed, and they said, it would be great if you could make one of these that are left-handed, because they put their arm on the spiral, and they can do it, but it would be convenient. And so, we listened to our customers, and we did it.
Good for you. I can see why you're so successful. You listen, you respond, you innovate, and this is just one of your many products, right?
Right. Well, right. And, my son, like I said, bless his heart, he's been growing up as a business person. And if he's 19, but if he sat here and talked on the phone, you would think he's 35. Because when we did that project, I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to call, you're going to get bids, you're going to write them on an Excel spreadsheet, and you're going to analyze that. You're going to pitch that with our team, and then we'll make a decision.
It's no secret that we've all been through very challenging times recently, and the frustration of changes in our daily lives for almost everybody. When you need help to cope with the day-to-day, it's important to reach out to the professionals at BetterHelp, who will personally work with you to get back on track, achieving your goals, and bring back that daily fulfillment you so richly deserve. BetterHelp, a Distraction podcast sponsor, will help you on the road to regain confidence, satisfaction, and fulfillment in your everyday life. The professionals at BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist who will give you the help you need to get back on track. They're convenient, affordable, and anything you share is always confidential. As a Distraction podcast listener, save 10%. Just go to our sponsor, BetterHelp, at betterhelp.com/distraction. BetterHelp is there to help you when you need it most. Again, save 10% and go to betterhelp.com/distraction and get back on track with BetterHelp.
I kind of feel like I've been on survival mode for a long time, but you know what we do though? It's many people would think this is odd, but you know, when I was growing up, I would hear people talk about, when you get a divorce, take the kid, fight for custody, all that stuff. Again, everything I do is through my son's eyes. And so he was in orchestra, he was in tennis. If you saw us at a concert, we all sit together. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, Yeah, and my husband is so gracious to just be kind. And kindness is what he emulates to everyone.
Yeah, I don't think you've been in survival mode. I think you've been in thrival mode. It seems to me you've been thriving. You've been thriving for an awful long time. No matter what comes your way, you turn it into something positive, which is there a secret to how you do that? Is it just come naturally to you?
First of all, it's a choice, right? I mean,
I can't stand that answer. I'm going to interrupt you because that's way too. You said it's a choice, and that's way too simplistic. It's like saying people who can't do that have chosen not to do that. It is just
okay. No. All right, let me give you an example.
Okay.
For 10 years, I have had horrific nerve pain, arm pain through my shoulder, through my right arm, all the way down to my fingertips for 10 years. I've had doctors that have said it's mental, there's nothing wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. I've had 3 surgeries, and I just had one on December 20th, and it was neurogenic thoracic outlet syndrome.
Oh, boy.
But here's the thing. I had decided, look, there's nothing I can do about this. So I can complain about it, or I can, it's an attitude, it's how you deal with it, because you know what? I have my arm. I have my fingers. I have my hand. And so that is a choice.
You hear what I'm asking you? To say it's a choice, I mean, who would choose? No, I prefer to sit here on the couch and complain. It's not a choice. Nobody would choose that. Some people do that. But I can't rest easy by saying it's a deliberate choice. It seems like...
Right, but I could choose. I could also choose to give up. I could not choose, but I could give up.
But you wouldn't, and I guess that's what I'm trying to probe a little deeper as to the why you wouldn't. Why it just not in your DNA? I mean, why?
Honestly, I think it's my parents. I just think, they were hardworking people. We lived on a farm. You always worked. You didn't complain. Everybody did everything. My mother, you'll love this. My mother was a hairdresser, and she had her own salon in our house. And when we got home from school, we were told to come home, open the door, greet each person. And if we didn't, Ned, we were told to leave the room and open the door again and do that again.
You had this sort of trained into you and the example set that, you carried your weight no matter what.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's better than saying it's a choice. But it doesn't explain it all. And I don't think anyone can explain it all. But, it's a quality that I see over and over again in people who have this thing that's so wrongly called ADHD. This tremendous spunk, this tremendous stick-to-itiveness, this tremendous, knock us down 10 times and we'll bounce back 11, And I can't explain it, but it does seem to be common to people who have this condition.
I watched this video of this woman. I need to look her up sometime, but she was talking about this neurogenic thoracic outlet syndrome.
Yeah.
And she made a comment. She said, boy, it really waned on my relationships. And that really made an impact with me, because I sat there and I thought, if you sit around and you complain all day long and that's your life, you're probably not going to be a very pleasant person to live with.
Correct.
And I'm sure I still do that some, but you know what I'm saying? What I try to do is look at how other people would view that situation.
Right. Well, whatever your method, you do it incredibly well, and you really are inspirational to listen to. Your energy is infectious. I can almost feel you coming through the wires. It's wonderful, and you're just an example of so much that's positive in this world.
Like I said, I really appreciate it, because we all face disappointment, and we all face failure, right? Yeah. But it's how we respond to it, really. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's really true.
It is true.
And I even asked my son that one time that we had something that happened in our neighborhood, and I asked him, I said, and and it was hurtful from parents, because anybody that's got kids with ADHD, sometimes your kid's not welcome, or it's just a journey. It's really, and you hurt when your kid hurts, you hurt, right? You hurt for them, and so we weren't invited to something, and I asked my son, I said, so let's just change the tide here. I said, if I were in that situation, and it was us that were doing it, what would I have done? And he said, you would have just invited them and made it good. And I thought, there you go. I mean, I thought, what, if I don't do anything right at all in my lifetime, that one I did.
I've done that one. Well, you've done a gazillion things right in your lifetime, and you're continuing to do them at the tender young age of 51. Oh, that's wonderful. I heard a great response the other day. It was a woman who I know who died at the age of 97, and her daughter was with her, and when she was dying, and the last words exchanged were, the daughter said to her mother, "I love you, Mom," and the mom responded, "Oh, what a coincidence. I love you too."
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that incredible? She still had her wits about her enough to come up with such a witty response. And how touching that was the last exchange they had. Oh, what a coincidence. I love you too.
Isn't that something? And we all should do that. As I always say, we should all show more kindness. We put kindness in all three of our mission statements of our company. Mm-hmm. And even my employees, if I see them being rude to our IT people in other countries or whatever, I love them to death, but I sit down and I say, that's not going to fly. So your choices are this. I'm going to help you find another job that you're great at, or I'm going to get you 6 months of coaching, because those people don't make what you make, and you don't have the right to do that. Mm-hmm. And and honestly, every single person I've done that has come back and said, "Thank you. No one's invested in me like that before." And so
that's wonderful.
I don't even know what to say to that. It's not what I was looking for, but it was so nice to hear.
This is wonderful, Angela. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Angela Stevens with a PH, time2refocus.com, TIME, the numeral 2, refocus.com. And you also have a podcast.
Yes, it's called Refocus with Angela Stevens, and with a PH, and you can find it on iTunes and iHeart and Stitcher and all those other places that I don't know.
All those wonderful places. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a real pleasure, and we covered a whole lot of territory.
You know what? You're welcome. You're welcome, Ned. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, I feel like I've known you for years, and graciously appreciate all your time as well.
She's a dynamo, isn't she? She really is just unbelievably creative and ADD and devoted to growing people and businesses and ideas. And I was really taken with her. I just found her very, very impressive to have done all that and be a single mom and then raise her son so well and grow her businesses so well. The Distraction Podcast is created by a company called Sounds Great Media. The producer, our producer, is the inimitable and incredibly talented redheaded Sarah Curtin. And our recording engineer and brilliant editor is the very Irish and very witty and very rhapsodic Patrick O'Keough.
The episode you just heard was made possible by our sponsor, Landmark College, the college for students who learn differently, offering comprehensive supports for students with ADHD and other learning differences, both on campus and online. Learn more at lcdistraction.org.